All right. The regular meeting of the Civil Service Commission for October 1st, 2025 will now come to order. Welcome in person and online attendees. If you would like to provide oral comments on any of the agenda items, please be sure to follow the instructions on the first page of the agenda. If you're attending this meeting in person and you would like to pull an agenda item for discussion, when asked, please stand and identify yourself by name or number, and we will return to your item after the consent agenda is approved. Attendees joining the meeting using the Zoom application will alert Commission staff of your intention to speak about an agenda item by using the Q&A function at the bottom of the screen. Please include your name, telephone number, and other identifying feature you selected when logging in, and the agenda item number you want to speak about. Attendees who dialed into today's meeting, please press star 9 on your telephone to raise your hand to alert Commission staff of your intention to speak about an agenda item. When called upon for you to speak, please unmute yourself using star 6 on your telephone. We will now commence with the order of business. First is the roll call. Will the Commission Secretary please take the roll?
Commissioner Bassett.
Present.
Commissioner Coleman.
Present.
Commissioner McGovern.
Present.
Commissioner Montenegro. Knock is absent. Commissioner Rodriguez Kennedy.
Present. The next item is the approval of minutes. May I have a motion to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of the September 3rd, 2025 Civil Service Commission?
I move that we approve the minutes.
There's a motion by the Commission Vice President Coleman. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
There is a second by Commissioner Bassett. Is there any discussion? Will this Commission Secretary please record Commissioner votes?
Commissioner Bassett.
Aye.
Commissioner Coleman.
Aye.
Commissioner McGovern.
Aye.
Commissioner Rodriguez Kennedy.
Present. I'm sorry, aye. I don't know what I was thinking. I am present. You can actually do that in Congress, FYI. I'm a federal employee. Rules are wrong. I am still a federal employee. I'm just not being paid. Yes, that's a joke at the federal government's expense. All right, so that motion carries with all commissioners voting in the affirmative. The next is a non-agenda public comment. Member of the public may address any matters relating to the Civil Service Commission other than the items that are on today's agenda. The total amount of time allowed for public comment will be limited to not more than 2 minutes unless the Commission President agrees to extend the time. Do any of the attendees want to make a public comment about any matter relating to the Civil Service Commission, but not on today's agenda? If so, and you join the meeting using Zoom, please use the Q&A function on the bottom portion of your screen to inform Commission staff. If you dialed into today's meeting, you may press star 9 on your telephone to raise your hand to alert Commission staff. When called upon to speak, please unmute yourself using star 6 on your telephone. We will need to wait a minute in the event that somebody wants to make a comment and is attempting to alert staff now. Will the executive officer please start a timer?
Yes. Commissioners, 1 minute has passed and we received no request to make a public comment.
Thank you. We will now move to item D, which is agenda item discussion. Do any attendees want to pull an agenda item for discussion? If you are attending this meeting in person and you would like to pull an agenda item for discussion, please stand and identify yourself by name or number, and we will return to your item after the consent agenda is approved. If you are speaking for an appellant or complainant, please use their assigned number. If you join the meeting using Zoom, please use the Q&A function on the bottom portion of your screen to inform Commission staff of the agenda item you wish to speak about. If you dialed into today's meeting, you may press star 9 on your telephone to raise your hand to alert Commission staff. When called upon to speak, please unmute yourself using star 6 on your telephone. We will now wait a minute in the event that somebody wants to pull an agenda item and is attempting to alert staff now. Will the executive officer please start a timer?
Yes. Would you like to pull number 2? Okay. Commissioners, somebody in attendance here at the meeting has pulled item number 2 for discussion.
All right. We will now move to the formation of the consent agenda. Will the commission secretary announce the items forming the consent agenda?
Commissioners, item number 1 and 2 automatically pulled for discussion. Therefore, agenda item 3 forms our consent agenda for today.
May I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Right. There is a motion by Commissioner McGovern. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a second by Vice President Coleman. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the commission secretary please call the roll?
Commissioner Bassett,
Aye.
Commissioner Coleman,
Aye.
Commissioner McGovern,
Aye.
Commissioner Rodriguez Kennedy.
Aye. All right. That motion passes with all commissioners present in the affirmative. Next is discussion items. We will now move to the discussion items. Agenda item 1 is my report on a discrimination investigation. Do any of the attendees want to speak about this agenda item? If so, and you joined the meeting using Zoom, please use the Q&A function on the bottom portion of the screen to alert commission staff. If you dialed into today's meeting, you may press *9 to raise your hand to alert commission staff. We will need to wait a minute in the event somebody wants to speak about this agenda item and is attempting to alert commission staff now. Will the executive officer please start a timer?
Yes. Commissioners, 1 minute has passed. We've received no request to speak about this agenda item.
Okay, hearing none, our Vice President, Commissioner Coleman, will you please chair this portion of the meeting as I read my report?
Yes, please proceed with your report, Commissioner Rodriguez Kennedy.
On April 2nd, 2025, the commission appointed me, Commissioner Will Rodriguez Kennedy, as its member to be the investigating officer in the matter of the complaint submitted by employee 2025-006, former confidential legal secretary, which alleged disability discrimination by the Office of County Counsel. In accordance with the established rules and procedures of the commission, the matter was concurrently referred to the Office of Ethics and Compliance for investigation. The Office of Ethics and Compliance concluded the discrimination investigation and reported its findings to the commission. I have received and reviewed the OEC's report and have taken into consideration all documentation submitted in this matter. I concur with the OEC's report and conclude that the evidence does not support a finding of probable cause that a violation of discrimination laws occurred relating to the employee's allegations. Therefore, I recommend that 1, employee's Rule 6 discrimination complaint be denied, and 2, the commission approve and file this report with a finding of no probable cause to believe the complainant has been unlawfully discriminated against, and I so move.
And do we have a second?
I'll second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, will the commission secretary please record commissioner votes?
Commissioner Bassett,
Aye.
Commissioner Coleman,
Aye.
Commissioner McGovern,
Aye.
Commissioner Rodriguez Kennedy.
Aye.
The motion passes.
Oh, that's it? You don't say anything? Okay. All right. I thought that we just say something, but that's okay. All right. Thank you, Commission Vice President Coleman, for chairing that portion of the meeting. We will now move on to our next item, which is agenda item 2, which is Commissioner Bassett's report on a discipline hearing. Do any of the attendees want to speak about this agenda item? If so, and you join the meeting using Zoom, please use the Q&A function on the bottom portion of the screen to alert commission staff. If you dialed into today's meeting, you may press *9 to raise your hand to alert commission staff. We'll need to wait a minute in the event that somebody wants to speak about this agenda item and is attempting to alert staff now. Will the executive officer please start a timer?
Yes. Commissioners, we've received no additional requests to speak about this agenda item. Mr. Hanson, if you'd like to go there, and you'll have 5 minutes to make your presentation. And please be sure to speak.
I wrote it down just to make it easier. Is this on? Hello, hello. Yes. Okay. Just checking. Good morning, Commissioners, and thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today. I want to begin by expressing my gratitude for the years I was able to serve the County of San Diego. Over that time, I've had the privilege of working alongside dedicated colleagues and serving the residents of our community. That work has been one of the greatest honors of my professional life. I also want to acknowledge that, like anyone, I'm not perfect. There were times I could have handled situations differently, and for those moments, I take full responsibility. I regret any actions, words, or decisions that may have contributed to the occurrences in the workplace, and I carry with me a sincere sense of remorse for how things unfolded. Throughout my career, I have worked to act with ethics, honesty, and integrity. Those values are central to who I am, and they have guided my service to this community. While I've made mistakes, my intent has always been to do what is right and to contribute positively. This experience has been humbling, and it has reinforced for me the importance of those values in every aspect of my work. This process has also given me perspective. I understand more fully now the importance of communication, collaboration, and accountability. I am fortunate enough to be, if I am fortunate enough to be reinstated, I'm committed to applying these lessons to moving forward in a constructive way and to being the kind of colleague and leader that the county and the community deserve. I am proud of the work I was able to accomplish during my years with the county, but I also recognize that this hearing is not just about the past, it is about whether I can continue to contribute in a positive way going forward. I want to assure you that I am committed to doing so with professionalism, humility, and renewed dedication. In closing, I just respectfully ask the Commission to consider my years of service, my contributions to the county, and my sincere commitment to ethics, honesty, integrity, and accountability. I hope you will allow me the opportunity to return and continue serving this community with the lessons I have learned and with the deepest respect for this process. Thank you.
Commissioner Bassett.
So, appellant 2025-008, referred to as employee, appealed a final order of removal and charges removing him from the position of Community Health Program Specialist in the Health and Human Services Agency, referred to as Department. The Commission appointed me, Commissioner Laura Bassett, to hear the appeal and submit findings, conclusions, and recommendations to the Civil Service Commission. Thereafter, a hearing was held on August 14th and 29th, 2025. The causes of discipline were acts incompatible with and/or inimical to the public service, failure of good behavior, and conduct unbecoming. Findings of fact. On April 19th, 2024, while in a Teams meeting with senior departmental human resources officers, senior DHROs, Almstetter and Raimi, the employee recorded the meeting without the consent of the other participants in the meeting. The department has presented sufficient evidence that when the employee asked permission to record the meeting, senior DHRO Almstetter clearly responded in the negative and no consent was ever approved. The employee has admitted to the recording. In fact, his own exhibit is the actual recording of the meeting. It reflects only a portion of the meeting as it does not record the conversation where the senior DHRO withholds her consent to recording, but the video is telling as it appears that the employee's phone was discreetly placed out of the view of the senior DHROs to the side of the employee's desk, recording the conversation but showing a portion of a second monitor, which, when it refocuses on that monitor, displays notes used by the employee in the conversation. Clearly, there was a conscious effort on the part of the employee to hide the phone from the senior DHROs, which could see only so much of the employee and his surroundings as limited by the camera. On June 28th, 2024, and again on July 15th, 2024, the employee, without authorization, emailed Ted Decker, CEO and president of Home Depot, requesting assistance in modifying the terms of the blanket purchase agreement, referred to as BPA. the county has with Home Depot. His request came after months of efforts to try to create a way for him to use grant funds quickly without going through the use of the P-card system or setting up a different credit vehicle through negotiations involving the Department of Purchasing and Contracting, the only department authorized by the county charter and the administrative code to negotiate procurement agreements or amendments to existing agreements. As a result of his actions, the department was contacted by a representative of Home Depot in charge of the Southern California region to inquire what it was that the employee was seeking. Conclusions. Cause 1. The evidence supports a violation of Civil Service Rule 7.2s regarding acts incompatible with and/or inimical to the public service, in that the employee knowingly recorded his team's meeting with senior DHROs Amstetter and Ramey without their consent. Whether senior DHRO Amstetter told him she'd prefer not to allow him to record it, or as the testimony of both senior DHROs was, she responded no to his request for permission to record it. Both responses are indications of a non-consensual recording. Furthermore, the actual recording shows indications of the employee's efforts to hide the fact that he was recording the conversation by placing his personal cell phone in a location outside of the view produced by his computer's camera. The employee has made various excuses for recording the meeting. He first states that he believed that there was an ulterior motive on the part of senior DHRO Amstetter by having senior DHRO Ramey sit in at the meeting, specifically to witness any misconduct on the employee's part that could be the subject of discipline. That is why he requested that the meeting be delayed until he could have a, quote, representative included. Senior DHRO Amstetter explained to the employee prior to the meeting that she felt a meeting in person, albeit by a video conference, would be more efficient and help her explain the process for him to appeal his Employee Performance Appraisal Report, EPAR, and reduce greatly the follow-up questions that came in response to each email. The follow-up questions would then require another response from her, and this would only result in additional questions that could easily be answered conversationally. She assured the employee that nothing stated in the meeting would be used as evidence of misconduct and future discipline. Second, he states that he is neurodivergent and needs the recording to ensure that he has something to rely upon when memorializing the discussion, as taking notes during the meeting is not effective for him. Assuming that this is true, there is no evidence that he explained this to the others in the meeting, and even if that was the case, consent still is required from the other participants. Third, he argues that he was unaware of the law, Penal Code Section 632, making it illegal for a person to record a confidential conversation with another without the other person's consent. He argues, however, that there is no, quote, county policy that was violated, since there is no specific county policy barring the recording of a confidential communication without consent. Regardless of any specific county policy, there remains the county's Code of Ethics, referred to as Code of Ethics, providing 6 general principles intended to guide and assist county employees in adhering to the standards of conduct contained in the Code of Ethics, one of which provides, perform your duties in compliance with all federal, state, and local laws, and avoid any involvement in illegal, unethical, or improper conduct. Such principle would also assist the employee to avoid the standard of conduct related to fraud, waste, and abuse, which sets forth zero tolerance for fraud by county employees, defining fraud to include, in Clause 2, false representation of a matter of fact, whether by words or by conduct, by false and misleading allegations, or by concealment of that which should have been disclosed, which deceives and is intended to deceive another, so that the person shall act upon it to his or her injury. Finally, the employee raises for the first time that labor laws such as the Weingarten rules guaranteeing the right of union representation under the National Labor Relations Act, as well as the 2023 National Labor Relations Board decision in Starbucks Corporation, DBA Starbucks Coffee Company, allow an employee to record conversations without consent of the other participants, even if doing so is in violation of state laws prohibiting recording without consent. First, as pointed out by the department, NLRB decisions do not apply to public agencies. And second, while state law protects a public employee's right of representation, that the Weingarten decision addressed on the part of the NLRB are not binding on public employees in the employers in the state. Employee points to no comparable state law or decision or administrative ruling that would protect him from discipline under this clause. Employee is guilty of acts incompatible with and or inimical to the public service by recording a meeting with two senior DHROs without their consent. Clause 2. The evidence supports a violation of Civil Service Rule 7.2R regarding failure of good behavior in that the employee without authorization attempted to engage the CEO and president of Home Depot in negotiations to amend the blanket purchase agreement that formed the contract between the county and that vendor. His actions in twice contacting the CEO and president for Home Depot resulted in unnecessary communications on the part of that vendor to subordinates down the chain of command to find out what it was that the employee was attempting to do, even when told that there were other options available to him. The employee presented considerable evidence of his accomplishments during his tenure. However, such history of success does not obviate the need for discipline when overstepping his authority by seeking to alter an existing contract negotiated or obtained by the purchasing agent for the county, especially one with terms set forth in the sponsoring agency's negotiations with a vendor such as Home Depot. Clearly, efforts to change the terms of the financial transactions from quote to invoice to satisfy the county need for invoices and payments prior to receipt of the tools and equipment, attempts to make a new exception to the BPA and would amend the operative terms of the BPA. Understanding the employee's frustration by no longer allowing him to use the OES credit card, which was in error to begin with, or make large purchases in excess of the P card limitations so that the employee can help in the Live Well program, doesn't justify ignoring established and approved procurement rules in place to protect public funds. It is important to point out that he made considerable yet unsuccessful efforts to try to find a way to obtain the same results that he enjoyed using the OES credit card. The evidence is clear, however, that his contracting operations representative, or CORE, and even Department of Purchasing and Contracting, DPC, representatives worked diligently with him and came up with options that might have achieved the results he had he focused on those, despite the looming deadline for spending the grant monies available to his program. In the end, his chosen option was simply to go to the top and Home Depot, which didn't accomplish what he wanted. Employee is guilty of failure of good behavior and understanding extraordinary unauthorized efforts to gain the assistance of the CEO and president of Home Depot to resolve his perceived problem in procuring gardening tools, equipment, and other similar supplies by amending the blanket purchase agreement between the county and the vendor. Cause 3. The evidence supports a violation of Civil Service Rule 7.2M regarding conduct unbecoming in that the employee's conduct in relation to Cause 2 could have brought disrepute to the county and likely embarrassment to his CORE when she received a call from the Home Depot representative for Southern California. Furthermore, his unauthorized in-run around his CORE and DPC by emailing the CEO and president of a Fortune 500 company, resulting in unnecessary involvement of numerous Home Depot employees, and must have been concerning to the CORE when a Home Depot representative called to find out what the emails from the employee were about. Employee is further guilty of conduct unbecoming and described in cause 1 by disregarding the wishes of fellow employees, withholding their consent to allow him to record the meeting, then hiding the recording device so that they would not see it, that it was operating. In addition, despite receiving various alternative recommendations from his core and representatives of DPC, the employee took it upon himself to contact the CEO and president of Home Depot and seek his involvement in finding a way to modify the existing contract on his own so that he could make larger purchases more quickly than the alternatives presented. More distressing is that the employee stated to Director Riccatelli in his Skelly conference that had he known that he was violating Penal Code Section 632 when interviewed by DHRO FIC, he would have lied about having recorded the meeting. Such a confession certainly calls into question the employee's ethics and again justifying the ends. Level of discipline. The director of the Department of Strategy and Community Engagement has determined that the employee's removal from his position is necessary and appropriate. Having reviewed the evidence, the numerous documents provided by both the employee and the department, and taking into consideration that the employee has admitted his violations, although presenting many excuses for his behavior, it is clear that the employee lacked the exercise of good judgment in both 1, recording a conversation without the consent of the other participants, especially when told not to, and then hiding the recording device, and 2, jeopardizing a vital county contract with Home Depot, which might have adverse consequences if credit transactions had been canceled. It is recognized that the employee was mistakenly allowed to use the OAS credit card for his projects initially and was attempting to create a similar situation once permission for the use of that card was withdrawn. Also, it is noted that the employee engaged in extensive efforts to solve the problem he faced when attempting to spend grant funds in a timely manner and in the most efficient means he could. However, his methods or means were not justified in the end. Recommendations. Based on the findings and conclusions set forth above, I hereby recommend the following decision. 1, that the final order of removal and charges be affirmed, and 2, that the proposed decision shall become effective upon the date of approval by the Civil Service Commission, and I so move.
All right. There's a motion by Commissioner Bassett to approve the report. Is there a second?
Second.
And there's a second by Commissioner McGovern. Is there any discussion?
I would like to make an additional comment.
Please.
I know you love this job and I know you did your best. And I hope that you can rise above all this. And it had nothing to do with your heart. Okay. I just wanted to say that.
Okay. I do have a question that I forgot about. In citing the penal code, was there any charge associated with that? The person. So if he was not charged with it, why are we making like a finding on it?
Well, he was still guilty of recording somebody without their consent. Just
Right.
because the DA didn't choose to prosecute this sort of,
I guess what I'm saying is because there's like 2 processes, there's not going to be charge, or will this?
he's not going to be charged,
Okay.
criminally
All right.
by the DA.
All right, then we can proceed. I guess the next thing is there any further discussion? Seeing none, will the Commission Secretary please call the roll or call the vote?
Commissioner Bassett,
Aye.
Commissioner Coleman,
Aye.
Commissioner McGovern,
Aye.
Commissioner Rodriguez Kennedy.
Aye. And that carries with all commissioners voting in the affirmative. I think that concludes today's meeting. Thank you for attending. The next commission meeting is scheduled for November 5th, 2025. This meeting is adjourned.
Thank you for attending.